Hello everyone, back to today's first video, doing JMA Friday for today's first video, which means we're having our month ahead look ahead. It's going to take us more or less to the end of August, so we are running down the clock for the summer of 2018 with this update, or at least statistical summer. Anyway, meteorologically it is questionable because you can get hot weather, as we know from this year, well before the summer in May and even in April. You can also get pretty hot weather after the summer in September and October. But statistically, summer is the first day of June to Friday of August, and so this update takes us pretty much to the last day of August, so running down to the final stages of summer 2018. Been a very hot summer, will be remembered as one of the classic UK summers. I think it's going to be up there with the very, very best summers that we've had. It may not beat the hottest summer on record, which is 1976. It may not beat that, but it's certainly going to be up there with kind of like the hottest summers and the best summers on record. So we'll see what the JMA and CFS V2 models are showing for August in a moment. Just say that coming up later on today, we're going to have our second video, which will be a week to 10-day video update. We'll have a look at the GFS and the ECMWF models to see what they're showing for the next week to 10 days in detail. But starting us off is JMA Friday, so we're going to have a look at the JMA model first of all in terms of the pole view down for the Northern Hemisphere. So this is the North Pole of the Northern Hemisphere up here. The mid-latitudes of the Northern Hemisphere are around there. Blue extrapolates to low pressure, and yellow, orange, red, the brighter colours, extrapolating to high pressure. These are broken down into week periods, so the first week period will take us from today, the 3rd, through to the 10th of August. So we have an area of above average heights over and a little bit to the west of the country, actually, in the week ahead, with below average heights slinking down into Scandinavia. A little bit of a change on the pattern that we've had through the summer so far. We're getting slightly more of an influence from the jet stream, with the jet doing something a little bit like that. So just a little bit more of an influence from the jet stream. Because of the trough sinking into Scandinavia, we also perhaps start to turn things a little bit more showery and maybe a little bit cooler as well in weekend. Nothing too dramatic, not a hugely dramatic switch, but just a little bit cooler and a little bit more showery compared to what we have had through most of this very hot and dry summer. That's how week 2's looking. It takes us from the 10th through to the 17th of August, and this one has below average heights just to the west of the country, so that one does look a little bit more unsettled, although some above average heights coming back into Scandinavia. The flow and the jet probably doing something a little bit like that, so it should still be fairly warm. We're probably bringing the air up from a south-southwesterly direction, but it certainly looks more changeable, that with low pressure out to west of us. You would expect showers, possibly even some longer spells of rain to be moving in from off the Atlantic, particularly unsettled in the west, of course. And then we go through to weeks 3 and 4, and we get another change. This takes us from the 17th through to the 31st of August, with above average heights coming back again over and to the east of the country. So that, going into the second half of August, is bringing back potentially really very warm or possibly even hot weather, with winds going into an east or southeast direction once again, and it would also be turning a lot drier too. So after that slightly more unsettled interlude, particularly through the second week of August, looks like the second half of the month is actually going back into drier and hotter conditions once again, with high pressure returning to the east of the country. That would end the summer of 2018 on a hot note. Remember, that's a 2-weekly anomaly as well. So normally in the 2-week anomaly, the anomalies are quite weak, so that's a fairly strong signal for a 2-weekly anomaly. For a 2-weekly anomaly, it does look as though the JMA is quite strongly predicting that area of high pressure to return to the east of the country in the second half of the month. Let's have a look at the mid-latitude and tropical view in terms of the temperature and precipitation anomalies that go with those heights. So the British Isles is in the top right-hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it on this particular view. A reminder of the week 1 500 millibar height anomaly, with above average heights, high pressure over and just a little bit to our west. You can't see Scandinavia on this view, but up here we have got a bit of a trough sinking down into Scandinavia with the jet stream. Now, temperature anomalies are still coming out quite warm, but of course it has been a very warm summer. So actually these are a little bit lower in terms of the temperature anomalies compared to what we've had through most of this summer. Nevertheless, the anomaly is still running something like 1 degree or more above average, particularly for England and Wales. It's closer to average for Scotland and Northern Ireland. So another pretty warm week is coming up, albeit not as hot as some of the weeks, or most of the weeks, that we've had through this summer. A fair amount of dry weather as well, so it isn't particularly unsettled in the weekend, although you'd expect probably a little bit more in way of showery conditions at times. Overall, it's still a pretty warm and dry week coming up. Certainly nothing to be overly concerned about. This one does look a little bit different. This is week 2. It's a 10th to the 17th of August. We have the below average heights just to the west of the country. Does look a little bit more unsettled. Probably quite warm though. We're bringing up the air from a southerly direction, or southwesterly to southerly direction. So no problems with temperatures, but possibly we thought a little bit more changeable. Temperature anomalies therefore are still coming out above average. It's another warm week there from the 10th to the 17th of August. Not as hot as some of the weeks that we've had in this long hot summer, but still above average. But it is a little bit more unsettled, especially for Scotland and Northern Ireland, with above average rainfall. England and Wales are closer to normal. Notice much of Central Europe also coming out with above average rainfall. So obviously there is some sort of different pattern going on there to what we've had through most of this summer, through that second week up to the middle part of August. And then we go through to weeks 3 and 4, which takes us from the 17th to the 31st of August, and the above average heights are returning over and to the east of the UK, which means we're probably bringing the air back in from an east to southeasterly direction into the second half of August, which presumably would bring a return to much warmer and much drier conditions again. Temperature anomalies remain above average, so it's going to be a warm August if this is right. Perhaps not as hot as July, not as big an anomaly in terms of the temperature being above average, but even so, all weeks through August are forecast to be generally above average with the temperatures. So although it's at a slightly reduced rate compared to what we had in July, nevertheless it is a warmer than average month to close out this very hot summer, and it's turning drier as well in the second half of August, with all places going back to drier than average conditions. So it does look as though this is shaping up to be a pretty warm and a pretty dry final month of the summer of 2018, just at a slightly reduced rate compared to what we had through the earlier part of the summer. CFS V2 looking like this. So these are 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly periods. The first week period will take us from the 3rd through to the 9th of August. The coming week finds that we have above average heights centred both over and to the east of the UK and also to the west of the UK as well. So still a lot of high pressure influences. Just a little bit more influence from the jet stream, with the jet dipping down slightly like that. So it is a little bit more influence this week from the jet stream. But nevertheless, it still is a mainly high pressure dominated week. The main area below average heights are actually well to the north of us up here, and that's where the main portion of the jet stream is as well. Notice it is a little bit more unsettled for Scandinavia. Then we go through to week 2. This one takes us from the 10th through to the 16th of August, with above average heights in the centre of the Atlantic and also going over to the eastern part of Europe. So we are breaking the ridge, a ridge that's given us this hot summer with the high pressure extension from the Azores to Scandinavia. And in its place, we've got below average heights over Scandinavia. The jet stream's dipping down across the country like that. So that one does look cool. It does look a little bit more unsettled. It's more so than the JMA. The JMA isn't showing the jet stream coming down across the country like that. There's actually a bit of a trough within the 500 millibar flow there with the CFS V2. So that is rather cooler, I think, than what the JMA is showing for that week, and it is a little bit more unsettled as well, I would have thought, particularly so for the north. Then we go through to week 3, and another change takes place. This one is from the 17th to the 23rd of August, and we find the above average heights, the high pressure is coming back big time over and to the north of the country, so we're returning to hotter and drier conditions there. The winds are coming in from an east or possibly southeasterly direction, so that one's dry and hot again into the 3rd week of August. And then the 4th week of August looks like that. The final week from the 24th through to the 30th of August has above average heights to the north, and actually going a little bit further north. So this one now is beginning to just become a little bit of a northern blocking type feature, with below average heights developing down to the south. The wind is still from an easy direction, but possibly with a little bit more of a northeasterly component, so that one might be turning a little bit cooler, and we've got to watch out for this trough of low pressure to our south, but maybe trying to bring more unsettled conditions up from the south and from the southwest too. And of course that's coinciding with the all-important late summer bank holiday weekend period as well, so just got to watch out what's going on there. But overall the CFS is very similar to the JMA, still going for a largely warmer and drier than average seen in August. So temperature anomalies in the weekend, the 3rd to the 9th of August, are coming out hotter than average in most parts of the UK. Very hot seen across much of Europe, off the scale heat really for many central parts of Europe in the week ahead. Week 2 does look a bit cooler though. This one is the 10th to the 16th of August. So this week the JMA is still quite warm, but the CFS is actually going pretty much cooler than average through most parts of the UK. So the temperature's lowering there from the 10th to the 16th of August as the jet stream begins to become more influential. But again, another change into the 3rd week of August, the 17th to the 23rd, we're going back to significantly warmer than average conditions again. So rather up and down with the temperatures here. And then we go through to the 4th week of August, and that one is also coming out warmer than average. I thought there might be a little bit more of a northeasterly component to the wind through that week, the 24 to the 30th of August, but still generally the model is hotter than average there. And then in terms of precipitation, so CFS wants the coming week to be significantly drier than average, so another very warm and dry week coming up from the 3rd through to the 9th of August. Week 2 does look closer to average with precipitation, so this is our cooler week. And obviously there is some sort of showery weather going on there, because we've gone from being dry than average to close to average with precipitation. So it's a little bit more changeable there from the 10th to 16th with lower temperatures. Then we're hinting at going back to drier than average conditions again from the 17th to the 23rd. That's as the temperature's warming up again. And then from the 24th to the 30th, possibly hinting at being a little bit wetter than average, especially so for England and Wales, and also across central parts of Europe. So at this point, the high pressure is drifting further north. It's becoming more centred towards Greenland and Iceland, which will probably allow low pressure to start attacking from the south, initially affecting England and Wales, probably thundering in nature as well, and then possibly a more widespread breakdown if that high pressure was to go any further north and become properly centred over Greenland. So it's a slightly more mixed scene than what we've had through most of these updates this summer. Having said that, high pressure is still very close, very dominant through most of the month. So we're looking at another warmer and drier than average month overall if these charts are correct. It's just the temperatures are slightly reduced, particularly compared to what we've had through that very hot July. So won't be another 19 Celsius CET month if this is right. Temperature will be above average, but not at such a high level. And as far as precipitation is concerned, again, a lot of high pressure influences among both of these models. They're differing slightly week to week, but still high pressure, never too far away. So plenty of dry weather. And just looks like that second week or middle part of August could be the most changeable and slightly cooler period of the month. But generally, we're ending the summer of 2018 on a pretty good note here. So that's it. That's your month ahead look at it. Could all look very different next week. And of course, next week's update will just start to extend us into September as well. So we'll see what the JMA and CFS V2 models are showing for September, beginning of September anyway, in next week's update. Coming up later on today, we're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. So come back for that this afternoon. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.